Hi, welcome to the Oracle ADF Virtual Developer Day, Web, Mobile and Beyond. This session is titled the Oracle ADF Overview, and my name is Shay Shmeltzer. I'm Director of Product Management at Oracle. And in this session, we'll give you an overview of the Oracle Application Development Framework and what it can provide for you as a developer. First, a message about any future references I might do. Now let's talk about what the Oracle ADF is. So Oracle ADF stands for the Oracle Application Development Framework. And it's basically a multi-channel framework for developing applications. It allows you to access data and services in various locations, whether in a database, it can be an Oracle database or any other type of database, whether they are in legacy systems, Oracle application systems, web services in other systems, taking all of this data and processes and then exposing them to multiple types of user interfaces. Whether you're building a web user interface, a mobile user interface, even a desktop Office Microsoft interface, and of course enabling you also to run those applications in the cloud. So Oracle ADF is basically a single framework that you can learn that will allow you to develop all of those applications. The main focus of Oracle ADF is to increase the productivity and ease of use for developers. We increase the productivity and ease of use by focusing on visual and declarative development approach. So while you can always go down to the level of coding at the source level in Oracle ADF, a lot of the gestures and development approach that you will do would be much more visual and declarative. For example, when you will define business services that access your database, you'll be able to complete it through a wizard. When you create a page in your user interface, you'll be able to visually lay out the page in a visual editor. The framework provides you with a set of utilities and features that take care of the plumbing for your application. So everything from how do I access a database and expose it as business services, to how do I create rich user interfaces, how do I take care of a controller layer, how do I define security in my application. All of those base aspects that every application needs are provided for you as services inside Oracle ADF. Also, those services already implement a lot of the best practices that creates efficient applications. For example, the way that you access a database in Oracle ADF is optimized. You can control and fine-tune how you fetch records, how many records are being fetched, all done through properties that you can set in your application. Oracle ADF promotes a service-oriented development approach, focusing on developing business services that are loosely coupled from any user interface. This allows you for greater usability of your application components. Oracle ADF is based on industry standards. It's using the standard Java language based on Java EE standards such as JSF, using web services standards, REST services standards, and more. And Oracle ADF gives you an end-to-end coverage for your development. So everything from your model layer to your view layer, and with integrated security, is covered inside Oracle ADF. Oracle uses Oracle ADF internally to build all our modern enterprise applications. For example, if you look into Oracle Fusion application, that's the Oracle offering in fields such as human capital management, financial system, project management. All of those are built from the ground up using Oracle ADF. We also use Oracle ADF to develop products inside Oracle. For example, if you look at products such as Oracle Enterprise Manager, Web Center, the consoles for the Oracle SOA suite, all of those are built with Oracle ADF. We use Oracle ADF to build industry-specific applications in various lines of business, and also to build various custom applications. So Oracle ADF is a base framework for Oracle for developing our enterprise application, and of course we offer it to a lot of our customers and they pick it up and are able to build their own custom applications. So here are some screenshots and examples of Oracle ADF based application. Those are some screenshots from the Fusion applications. For example, on the right side you can see our HR module. Here are some screenshots from product. So on the left side you can see the Enterprise Manager 12c built with Oracle ADF. On the right side you can see the BPM workspace, part of the SOA suite built with Oracle ADF. Here's the new Oracle support site that you might have visited. It's also based on ADF and provides services to all our customers over the web. And of course, a lot of our customers are using Oracle ADF to build multiple types of applications. A lot of the applications that are built with Oracle ADF are used inside companies, but we also have a lot of public websites and web applications that are based on ADF. Those are also some samples that you can find out there on the web. So at the end of the day, Oracle ADF provides you with an MVC architecture, a model view controller, basically separating the layers of application to create applications that are easier to maintain and easier to develop and reuse. Here's the basic architecture of Oracle ADF. As you can see, we still have the view controller model layers, and you can see that you can decide and choose various technologies for each one of the layers. So if we start with the view layer, if you're doing browser-based development, you're going to be using ADF Faces. This is a set of components that allow you to create rich web interfaces. We also provide you the ability to create mobile applications. Those are applications that are run and deployed on mobile devices, for example iOS and Android devices. And we also allow you to create user interfaces that run directly on desktops, either using Swing or using the Microsoft Office Excel as a front end to your application. For both web and mobile application, we use a controller layer, the ADF Controller, allowing you to create applications and page flows in an easier modular way. In terms of business services that can be used in your application, we can leverage any Java file or Java class EJBs, REST and SOAP services, ADF business components, BEM, BPL, worklist, portlets, BI components, and many other sources of services and processes that are all exposed through a unified binding layer, making it easy to use each one of those services in your various UI layers. In fact, the binding layer kind of abstracts the actual implementation of the business service from the developer of the UI. In addition, running across all the layers, we have the ADF security layer, allowing you to define users, roles, and provide permissions and specific authorization to do specific aspects and updates to your data. The nice thing about having an integrated security throughout the layers is that if you define a security layer on the business service, it automatically will influence the UI layer of your application. Another layer that is across layers inside the Oracle ADF is the metadata services layer, and this layer allows us to do application customizations. We'll talk about it later on in today's presentation. Oracle ADF, as we said, can use multiple types of technologies in various layers. Today we're going to focus mostly on the Oracle ADF components that are used by Oracle Fusion applications, and this is also the technology stack that is most commonly used by our customers. Specifically, we are going to talk about the ADF Faces Rich Client component. Those are the components that allows us to build very rich web user interfaces. The ADF Controller allows us to build reusable web-based task flows. The ADF Model Layer, allowing us to declaratively bind user interfaces to business services. And the ADF Business Components, which allows us to create reusable database access logic. First part that people usually see in an Oracle ADF application is the user interface, and we implement the user interface in Oracle ADF applications using Oracle ADF Faces. Oracle ADF Faces is a set of UI components that currently consist of over 150 components with built-in AJAX and HTML5 functionality. The nice thing about using those components is that they abstract you from having to code at a lower level of markup language. You basically take components, arrange them on a page, and create very rich user interface that is very dynamic. Nice aspect here is that Oracle ADF Faces actually gives you protection from UI technology changes. So as UI devices and browsers mature, the technology that is being used to display web-based user interfaces has been changing over the years. And the nice thing about using Oracle ADF Faces is that the components actually protect you from technology changes. I'll give you an example. One of the components that Oracle ADF Faces provide is a graph component, allowing you to display various types of charts like pie, bars, and many others. Initially, this component was rendering images using the SVG format. We later upgraded it to generate images using PNG images. Now, when the users saw our applications, one thing that they wanted to have, for example, is more animation and highlighting capabilities in our graph component. So we took the same graph component and have it generate flash UIs. Okay. This gave us animation and other effects on our charts. However, several years later, people started showing up at work with iPads, and iPads couldn't run and show Flash. What we did then is basically took the same graph component and updated it to render things using HTML5. And this is the current situation with Oracle ADF graph component. So over all those changes and technology advancements in UI technology, the people who built application using Oracle ADF didn't need to go and learn each one of those new technologies as they appeared. Instead, they were using the same component across all those years, each time with additional capabilities, but the actual implementation was done by us. Okay. This is a nice protection for your application developer and your application from technology changes. It's not just the technology in terms of the UI rendering mechanism, it's also, for example, the ability to now support touch gestures. So if previously if you were to click on a graph using your mouse button, you can pop up a menu, now we're actually able to do it using touch gesture. So all our ADF Faces components are touch and mobile ready now. They are certified to run on both the iOS and the Chrome Android browsers. Oracle ADF Faces is again focused on increasing reusability by eliminating a lot of the low-level HTML and JavaScript code that you would need to learn and write in order to create those rich user interfaces. And it also provides you with a visual development approach for building your application. Underlying the view layer and the ADF Faces is our ADF Controller. The ADF Controller allows us to define reusable process flows. It allows you to model your web flow, navigation between pages, and extend it from doing just page-to-page navigation to actually enable you to include in your flow things like decision points, task calls for functions, calls to other task flows, basically creating a complete process flow that you can define as part of your web application. One of the key focuses of the ADF controller is extended reusability. A flow that you can define can be reused inside other flows and also inside other pages. It can actually be packaged and added dynamically into a page. This allows you to create your application in a modular way, where each developer can work on a specific module, and then you gather all the modules to create your complete application. It also allows you to create very rich dynamic user interfaces, where the content of the page can actually change based on the context of what the end user is doing, each time displaying a different task flow in the same region. In terms of database interaction, one of the capabilities inside Oracle ADF is to use the ADF Business Components. ADF Business Components is a framework that allows us to create Java objects that access relational databases. It has extensive built-in functionality supporting automatic handling of things like master detail, query by example, list of value, calculation and calculated fields, transaction management, and many other aspects of integrating with databases. Oracle ADF Business Component is focused on declarative approach to defining your business services. You only need to write code by exception, meaning if you need to modify the default way that a framework behaves, you can enhance it and extend it by writing additional Java code. The components that you create with ADF Business Components are reusable across application and across multiple user interfaces. In fact, the components can actually be exposed through web services interfaces to be integrated into other systems and into an SOA architecture. The ADF Model Layer is in many cases referred to as the magic layer in Oracle ADF. What it allows you to do in terms of the development aspect is to simply take a business service, drag and drop it, and create UI interfaces for it. What it does actually is abstract the service technical implementation from the UI developer. This means that no matter how the implementation was done for your business service layer, whether it's a simple Java class, a complete EJB with JPA backend, ADF business components, REST service, SOAP service, or many other options, you as a UI developer would be able to simply drag and drop it and create UI interfaces on top of those business services. We use the same binding technology, whether you're developing web interfaces, mobile interfaces, or even desktop interfaces. Let's see a quick demo of how you build a basic Oracle ADF application using Oracle ADF and JDeveloper 12c. So this is Oracle JDeveloper 12c, and I'm going to build a new application using Oracle ADF. As you can see, JDeveloper allows you to build different types of application. We're going to use ADF, and we're going to use specifically the Fusion web application template, which means that we're using the full stack of services provided by the ADF framework, including ADF Business Components, ADF Faces, ADF Page Flow, and ADF Binding. We support using Maven and Ant to build your project, or you can use the default JDeveloper build tools to build your environment. When you first create your application, you actually get a step-by-step process for creating an application. You can follow those steps, or if you already know those steps, you can do them manually. So let's see, we have two projects now. The View Controller project takes care of our user interface. The Model project, which is empty right now, is where we define our business services. So let's start with this task. And the first thing we're going to do is create some business components from tables. We define a connection to a database. This can be an Oracle database, but it can also be a non-Oracle database. We basically support access to various JDBC databases. You can test the connection to make sure that you're able to connect to the database and click OK. The next step would be to go over and create some business components that are based on tables that you have access to. So let's query the data dictionary, find out the tables in our database, and shuttle them to the right. You can shuttle to the right or to the left based on the tables you want to use. By going through this wizard, I'm creating a set of components that will allow me to create, update, delete, and insert data into the Oracle database. Let's look at one of those objects. So, for example, let's look at the houses object. This maps to the table called houses in the database. Over here, I can go and see the various attributes that this object has. Again, they all map to columns in the database. And I can refine the definition of each of those columns by setting a bunch of properties over here. In addition, I can do things like defining validation rules. So let's look at a property of the house called the price. If we click on the validation rules tab, we'll see that there's already a validation rule that was derived from the definition of the field in the database. I can now go in and add additional validation rules. So let's create price range rule. ADF provides you with a set of validations that you can invoke here. Things like compare or checking for an existing in a specific list, length, invoking a method, invoking a groovy expression, a regular expression. All of those are options that you have for defining validation rule. I'm going to create a validation rule checking that the price of the house is between $0 and $2 million. You can specify a validation execution condition, so maybe the validation is not always executed, and then you can define your error message. And that's how easy it is to define validation rules in a declarative way. Another thing that you can define for attributes are UI hints. UI hints are going to control the way that a specific field is going to display by default in your user interface. For example, we have the first offered field in our component. Let's define a new label for this. We can define a tooltip. And we can define a format mask. And we can define many other attributes that will control the way that this object will be displayed in our application by default. So again, notice the declarative way that I define those type of objects. The framework in turn does a lot of things in a very advanced way. For example, creating this file over here automatically when I defined all of those attributes, which has all the strings, format masks, externalized into an external file, ready to be translated to other languages. So you can basically take this file, translate it to other languages, and you have an internationalized application. Let's see another type of declarative operation relating to database relationship that you can do in ADF Business Components. If we look again at the house view, we'll see that there's one attribute here called the city. And the city might come from a list of city that is provided in the cities table. So for this field, we can define that by default it will have a list of value. We'll define a new source for the list of value, define the mapping field, the field that is going to be displayed, and the default way that this field is going to be again displayed in the user interface. Note that over here we have further control over the query that is going to be executed. We can fine-tune how this is going to happen. In general, ADF is very good at providing you with a bunch of tuning operations and options for your access to the database, as you can see over here. Right, now we've defined some basic business services. The next step would be to go and create our user interface. Let's create a new page for our application. We can choose from templates that we have. We can choose from some of our quick layout components that we can see over here. Let's choose this template for our page. You can of course define your own templates for your own pages. JDeveloper took us into our Visual JSF editor. This is a place where we can visually design and lay out our pages. To do that, we use a set of components called the ADF Faces components and basically drag and drop them to position them on the page. We start with some layout components where we can, for example, take a splitter to split the page into two areas and then switch the orientation of this splitter, like that. Take another splitter and split the top part of the page into two and maybe reposition them. And the bottom part of the page we can use, for example, panel dashboard component. And inside the panel dashboard we can drop several boxes. Panel dashboard provides a container for those boxes, and we can actually control how the boxes are going to be displayed directly from the properties of the dashboard, like that. If we want to enable people to move the boxes around, we can in addition use operation components. Operation components save us from the need to write low-level JavaScript. So for example, to provide drag and drop, we pick up the component drag source and drop it on each one of the boxes to allow the boxes to be dragged around. Let's add an accordion component over here on the left. For this accordion component, we can change the title. We can add another accordion after this one. And on the right side of the page, we're going to use a panel collection to represent a list of houses that are for sale. That's the layout of our page. At this point we can save everything, and we can also preview our page in a browser to see how the page would look like. And we can see that the UI is very dynamic, allowing us to reposition items and expand and collapse accordion, etc. Right, let's move to the next step, which is to actually bind some data into our page. This is the part where we're going to use the ADF Model Layer, the ADF binding capabilities. Over here in the data control palette, we can see the two business components that we created in our model project, and we can now shuttle them to the right. For example, let's take the house views, and we'll display it over here in a table. Table can be updatable or read-only. We can enable all sorts of behaviors on the table. We can remove fields if they are not interesting to us, group fields, and rearrange fields as needed. Next, we're going to take a named criteria and allow us to search the houses using a quick query component, which we'll place over here on the left. We can reuse the same employee object and drag it into a box below to display this time as an updatable form. We can again remove some of the fields that are not interesting to us. We can refine components, and instead of using simple input text component, we can, for example, convert this one to be an input number spin box, and maybe convert another component to again a more advanced component such as a slider. Each component has a set of properties that allow you to control aspects of how it's going to be displayed. In the same way that you drag objects from the data control into the page to create fields, you can drop them as many other types of components, including carousel, Gantt charts, geographical maps, a navigation list, all sorts of tables and timelines and trees. Let's create a graph, for example. And we're going to create a bar graph representing the prices of houses. So we'll provide the street number or the street name as the axis and the price as the bar graph. We can further tune our component, defining aspects such as animation, rollover behaviors, and other properties as needed. At this stage we can click Save Everything, and let's run our page. Our Our page is deployed to the embedded WebLogic server and opens up in a browser. Initially our page is empty. Let's perform a query. For example, let's search for houses in a specific city. We have the list of value provided for us over here. So we can search, for example, for houses in Redwood City and get the results in a table here, a form here, and a chart that is available over here. Notice that the components of the page are synchronized, and as I click on different houses, the information is being displayed in this section of the page. In addition, notice the rich behavior of the table, allowing us to do things like sort the table, move columns around, and even filter the data. We can of course update the data, for example, indicate that this house is in a different city, change the number of rooms, or even try and change the price. Of course, if we put in an invalid value, we'll get our error message. We have date pickers and immediate date validation if we put invalid values. And our page also supports drag and drop to allow us to reposition data in our page. So that's a simple page that we were able to develop very quickly, creating everything from the business services up to the user interface and running it and testing it and seeing that everything works accordingly to what we expected. Let's now see how we can reuse our page in other places, and by doing that we'll also show you a few more capabilities in ADF. One aspect is the concept in ADF of creating task flows. Task flows are reusable flows. For example, let's create a house search flow like that. In this flow, we can contain, for example, our page, and this page can then navigate, for example, to a method call. Our method can then navigate to a router to make a decision, and then possibly navigate to another page. Again, all of this is possibilities that you can add to your flow. Let's actually remove those two aspects and just define a flow between our first page and this second page. In this page, what we want to show is data about mortgage, and to do that we're going to very quickly create in our model project a simple Java class. This would be our mortgage calculator, and we're going to create a simple method here and for now we're just going to return a fixed value. Of course, you can put in a lot of logic inside this method. The idea here is to show you that we can take any Java class that was created and very easily right-click on it to create a data control out of it. Once a Java class or a Java object is exposed as a data control, we can use it in ADF pages simply by providing a drag and drop capability. So for example, if we'll go to this page, and we'll create a page, we can now see our Java class here along with the methods, parameters and return values, and we can drag and drop them to position them on the page, for example to create a parameter form along with a place where we'll actually show the results of invoking the method. So this would be our second page, and to navigate to this page from this page, we're just going to add one more button to this page. And this button is going to execute our navigation. This is using simple JSF flows. Right, so now we have a complete flow, and we also showed you that you can use any Java class in ADF application. The next step is to show you that this part of the code can be reused. So let's convert this one to be an a bounded task flow with page fragments. This basically tells JDeveloper and ADF that the pages here can be embedded inside other applications. Once we do this, we can now go and create a new library from our flow. Let's create a new deployment file, and we'll create our house library. And now we can even go and deploy this to a jar file. Once deployment is done, we can pick up this jar file and use it in another application. Let's open another application that we created before. And into this application, we're going to add our Java library. The next step would be to use this library in one of our pages. Let's open one of our pages, and we're going to use our component inside this support option here. Okay, so now in our set of libraries we can also see our house component. Drag it directly into here and drop it either as a region or dynamic region. Again, the content of this region can change at runtime. Right now we're going to use a fixed region here to show our houses. Let's click Save Everything and run this page. So this is a complete Oracle ADF application that allows us again to search for specific houses in specific locations. In this application you can see, for example, our map component allowing you to zoom in and zoom out on houses. You can see some of our layout components allowing you to use drawer components, for example. Let's look at our quick view. This is showing you our hierarchy viewer, allowing you again to drill in a city to see the houses that are offered for sale in this specific city, and even see images of the interior of the house. You can see, for example, the houses on a timeline showing when each house became available in the market. And if we click on the support tab, we'll actually see the page that we designed before, now available inside our application over here with the same functionality that we designed for it. That's the power of Oracle ADF. Create complete applications very quickly, mostly in a declarative way, as you've seen in this demo. Everything that you saw so far is actually part of the Oracle ADF Essential packaging. Oracle ADF Essentials is a free offering of the key components of Oracle ADF. This includes the Oracle ADF Faces, the ADF Controller, the ADF Binding Layer, as well as the adapters for ADF Business Component, Java, EJB and JPA, and REST services. All of those can be used inside Glassfish as a deployment platform and are available for free for you to use. In addition, in the demo you just saw, we used Oracle JDeveloper as the development tool. And Oracle JDeveloper is currently the tool that offers the most advanced visual and declarative development approach with Oracle ADF. But you can also use Oracle ADF in the Eclipse tool. Using the Oracle Enterprise Pack for Eclipse packaging of Eclipse add-ins, you'll be able to use Eclipse and work with ADF projects, use the ADF Faces set of components, create ADF task flows, use the ADF binding layer, for example, to connect EJBs into your JSF pages easily, and then iteratively deploy and debug on both WebLogic Server and Glassfish. So if you're currently an Eclipse developer and Oracle ADF looks interesting to you and allows you to create better applications faster, you can still continue using your Eclipse tooling. Let's talk about some of the other parts of Oracle ADF. Oracle ADF Mobile. This is a framework that allows us to develop a single application and deploy it on device to both Android and iOS devices. You'll still be coding your logic using the Java language. You'll still be using components to create your user interface, which is HTML5 based. And you'll still be using JDeveloper as a visual development environment for your framework. This allows you as a developer to leverage the same Java and ADF skills you already have and become a mobile developer building mobile applications. Another part of Oracle ADF is the Oracle ADF desktop integration. This allows you to create Excel spreadsheets that connect to your Java-based business services at the backend. For end users, this provides a familiar working environment, basically Excel spreadsheets. And in many cases, for example in financial departments, Excel is the preferred user interface for interacting with data. But this allows you to still get the data, update the data through leveraging your existing business services that you wrote in ADF. You leverage the same security mechanism as well. Working with Excel can be done both in connected and disconnected mode, allowing people to download data into the Excel spreadsheet, work on it, and then replay the transaction when connected back to the ADF backend. As mentioned before, Oracle ADF also includes a security layer that takes care of authentication and authorization inside your application. It gives you end-to-end security, allowing you to secure everything from the business service components through your task flow and UI components. This means that an unauthorized user will be limited in the amount of things he can see. We actually externalize the security administration to the Oracle Platform Security Services, but inside the Oracle ADF layer you can define security for the aspects and components that make up your application. A unique layer in Oracle ADF is the customization and personalization layer. This is done through the Oracle MDS or Oracle Metadata Services layer. This is done in two layers. The first layer allows us to persist user UI changes and preferences. For example, if a user changes his screen layout, rearranging fields in a table, expanding and collapsing accordions, defining queries, we can save it as his personal preferences. For the next time that he invokes the application, all of those changes would be applied for his instance of the application. We can do even further customization by developers, defining additional modification for a base application in layers. For example, a developer can take an existing business component and modify or add additional validation rules. This can be then applied at runtime for specific customers of the application. The changes of those validations rule would be saved in an additional file that only consists the changes, making sure that the base file is not modified and allowing us to use the same base file for multiple deliveries of the application to various customers. This is a key capabilities for developers who are creating applications that need to be customized when delivered to different customers. Oracle ADF can be used standalone to create complete applications. However, it also has unique integration points with the rest of the Oracle Fusion middleware to allow you to create an even more complete solution for your application development. Oracle ADF integrates very well with the Oracle SOA suite, allowing you to create agile processes, whether automated processes or human-driven processes, that can be defined by developers or by business users, and then executed using our BPEL and BPM engines. Oracle ADF will provide the user interface layer for those processes and can also integrate with the processes and invoke them by integrating our business services, the ADF business components, directly with the SOA suite and firing events from our components to start various processes in your SOA layer. We also integrate with the Web Center portal solution, allowing you to add portal behaviors to your ADF application. This allows, for example, for end users to customize and define their own pages at runtime using task flows that you defined in ADF. It also enables you to add a bunch of Web 2.0 services into your ADF application. Things like wiki, tagging, linking, and more can be added as components and task flows into your application that you built with ADF. And it also provides you with content integration with various content repositories. Oracle ADF also integrates with the Oracle Business Intelligence solution, allowing you to add to your ADF pages reporting and analysis data, allowing you to access new data sources, non-relational databases from inside Oracle ADF to get, for example, into cubes of data, and allowing you to further customize BI reports using ADF components. In summary, Oracle ADF provides you with a complete development framework taking care of all the layers of the application in an integrated way. The visual and declarative development approach accelerates your development, allowing you to create better applications faster. Underlying Oracle ADF is an innovating architecture that provides you with cutting-edge user interfaces and development capabilities. While the framework is open and based on industry standard, it also provides you with an integrated solution to the rest of the Oracle platform, allowing you to better leverage the complete development platform offered by Oracle. To learn more about Oracle ADF, go to the Oracle ADF page on oracle.com. Also, don't forget to join our community, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Google, and if you want to learn more, see our YouTube channel, The ADF Insider. Thanks for attending this seminar.